There is a precise moment when the universe decides that the time has come, a moment when all the lies, manipulations, and cruelties of a narcissist finally meet their reckoning. And today, you're going to discover exactly how to recognize when that moment has arrived for the narcissist in your life. The great Wayne Dyer used to say that when we live aligned with universal laws, we see justice manifest in ways our rational mind could never imagine. But when someone constantly lives violating those laws, manipulating, lying, and destroying other people, the universe has a very specific way of restoring balance. You who have already suffered at the hands of a narcissist know well what I'm talking about. How many times have you asked yourself, when will this person pay for what they did? How many nights have you stayed awake questioning if there is justice in this world? The truth is that there is a very clear pattern that always repeats before a narcissist faces the consequences of their actions. These are signs that the universe gives us, like warnings that the storm is coming for those who have sown only destruction. These 6 signs that you're about to discover are not coincidence. They are direct manifestations of the universal law of cause and effect, operating in the life of someone who chose to live in the darkness of manipulation and unbridled selfishness. The first sign that divine justice is approaching a narcissist is when people begin to naturally distance themselves from them. It's not an organized conspiracy. It's not planned revenge. It's something much deeper and more powerful. It's collective intuition working. Have you ever noticed how it works? Suddenly, old friends stop calling. Work colleagues avoid longer conversations. Family members start making excuses not to attend events where that person will be present. It's as if an invisible force were alerting everyone about the toxicity of that person. Wayne Dyer explained that our energy emits a frequency, and when someone lives in constant low vibration, lying, manipulating, hurting others, that repulsive frequency begins to affect everyone around them. People may not be able to consciously explain why they feel uncomfortable near the narcissist, but the body and soul know. First, it's the most sensitive ones who distance themselves. Then, those who have higher self-esteem and don't tolerate disrespect. Finally, even the most condescending begin to perceive that something is wrong. The narcissist, of course, interprets this as envy or conspiracy, but the truth is that people simply can no longer sustain proximity to so much toxicity. And tell me something. From which city are you watching this video? Leave it there in the comments. I love knowing where our friends who seek this wisdom are. When this natural isolation begins, the narcissist enters desperation. They intensify the manipulations, create more drama, create more chaos, trying to get attention, but this only accelerates the process. It's like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. What you need to understand is that this is not a process you need to force or accelerate. When you stop feeding the narcissist's ego with your attention and energy, when you establish firm boundaries, you automatically contribute to this natural law operating. But prepare yourself, because when a narcissist realizes they're losing their audience, they don't accept it quietly. And this leads us to the second sign, which will shock you with its precision. The second sign is devastating for any narcissist. Their lies begin to contradict and expose themselves without anyone needing to do anything. It's as if the universe itself organized the puzzle pieces so that the truth finally appears. Have you ever seen this happen? Suddenly, a lie told to one person clashes head-on with another version told to someone different. Old emails resurface, conversations are remembered. People begin to compare the different versions of the same story and notice the glaring contradictions. The most fascinating thing is that this happens organically. No one needs to go back investigating or trying to prove lies. The lies themselves collide with each other like an inevitable cosmic collision. Wayne Dyer always said that truth has its own energy, a magnetic force that eventually overcomes any distortion. The narcissist, accustomed to controlling narratives and manipulating perceptions, suddenly finds themselves in a situation where they can no longer sustain all the false versions they created. It's like a juggler trying to keep 20 plates spinning in the air at the same time. Eventually, something will fall. First, there are small inconsistencies that some people notice. Then these people begin to talk among themselves. Wait, but didn't he tell me that... And so naturally, the web of lies begins to unravel. What makes this even more powerful is that the narcissist cannot control all the variables. They can manipulate one person at a time, but when multiple people begin to compare information, truth emerges like water springing from the earth. And when this happens, the narcissist panics. They begin to create new lies to cover the old ones, making the situation even more confusing and obvious. It's like using more paint to cover a stain, except each new layer makes the stain more visible. You who have been through this know, there's a moment when you look back and think, how didn't I see this before? But don't blame yourself. Narcissists are masters at compartmentalizing their lies. Only when the compartmentalizations break is the complete picture revealed. But if you think this process is disturbing for those who observe, wait until you see what happens to the narcissists themselves when they lose control of the narrative. The third sign will show you how. The third sign is when the natural consequences of years of destructive behavior begin to materialize simultaneously. It's as if all the rotten seeds the narcissist planted throughout their life finally sprouted at the same time, creating a garden of chaos they themselves cultivated. Wayne Dyer taught that we live in a universe of cause and effect, where each action generates a corresponding reaction. For the narcissist, who spent years causing pain, betrayal, and destruction, there comes a moment when all these actions return multiplied. Suddenly, problems that seemed unconnected begin to emerge together. The professional career that was built on lies and manipulations begins to crumble. Relationships that were maintained through emotional blackmail break apart. The reputation that was created through false public image deteriorates. The most impressive thing is the synchronicity. It's not one problem at a time, which would give the narcissist the chance to reorganize and manipulate the situation. It's an avalanche, coordinated by the universe itself. A lost opportunity here, a lawsuit there, a complaint from another side. Can you see the difference? When normal people face difficulties, they usually can count on a support network, on the good reputation they built, on genuine relationships they developed. But the narcissist, who lived exploiting and destroying connections, finds themselves completely alone when the storm arrives. And it's not that people became mean to them out of malice, it's that they never built anything real, anything solid. Their entire life was a house of cards, beautiful on the outside but without foundation. When the winds get stronger, everything collapses. What shocks the narcissist most in this process is the speed. They're accustomed to getting out of difficult situations through manipulation and charm. But when multiple consequences arrive together, there's no manipulation capacity that can handle it. It's at this moment that many narcissists begin to talk about persecution, about conspiracy, about how the whole world is against them. In reality, the world simply stopped sustaining their lies and manipulations. Reality, which was distorted for so long, finally reasserts itself with full force. But if you think this is the end, prepare yourself. Because when a narcissist finds themselves cornered by their own consequences, something even more revealing happens. The fourth sign is when the narcissist completely loses the emotional control they always used as a manipulation tool. The mask of superiority, charm, and control they maintained for so long simply collapses, revealing the wounded and angry child that was always behind it. For years, the narcissist used calculated explosions of rage, strategic episodes of victimization, and fine emotional manipulations to get what they wanted. But when divine justice approaches, something different happens. They lose genuine control, not the performative control of before. Wayne Dyer explained that when we live against universal laws, we create an unsustainable internal tension. For the narcissist, who built their entire identity on a lie, there comes a moment when this tension explodes devastatingly. Suddenly, they begin to have disproportional rage attacks over small things. They cry in public places. They create scandals they would never make before because they knew it would hurt their image. It's as if the internal self-regulation system had simply stopped working. You who lived with a narcissist know the difference. Before, even in the worst explosions, you could perceive a calculation behind it, an intention to control or manipulate you. Now, you see pure desperation, real panic, a person completely beside themselves. They begin to say things they would never say, to reveal thoughts they always kept hidden. The mask they perfectly adjusted for each situation can no longer stay in place. It's like an actor who forgot all their lines in the middle of the most important play of their life. The most revealing thing is that in this state, other people begin to see the narcissist as they really are. Those who still had doubts, who thought maybe they're not so bad, finally see the raw reality. The performance is over, the show has ended. And when this happens, the narcissist enters even greater desperation because they realize they lost the only tool that always worked, the ability to manipulate others' perception of them. Without this skill, they become completely exposed and vulnerable. Often it's at this moment that they begin to seek help, not out of genuine awareness of the problem, but out of pure desperation. They want someone to help them fix their image, to recover the control they lost. But the universe isn't finished with them yet. The fifth sign will show how the very material structure of their life. The fifth sign is devastatingly concrete. The material structure the narcissist built, often at the expense of others, begins to crumble inexplicably and simultaneously. It's as if the universe decided to withdraw all physical support that sustained their false grandeur. Wayne Dyer used to say that when our internal energy is aligned with truth and love, material life flows naturally. But when someone builds their material life through lies, exploitation, and manipulation, that structure becomes fundamentally unstable. Suddenly, investments that seemed solid collapse. Businesses that generated profit for years begin to lose money without apparent explanation. Properties lose value inexplicably. Contracts are cancelled. Partnerships dissolve. It's as if an invisible force was systematically deconstructing everything they built. The most impressive thing is that these aren't isolated events that could be explained by bad luck or external circumstances. It's a clear and consistent pattern of deterioration that affects all areas of the narcissist's material life simultaneously. Have you ever noticed how this happens? The person who always boasted about their material possessions, who used financial status to intimidate and impress others, suddenly finds themselves in a downward spiral that seems to have no end. And the more they try to control the situation using the old methods, lies, manipulation, blackmail, the worse it gets. It's especially poetic when we realize that much of what they possessed was obtained by exploiting other people. Unpaid salaries to employees, broken promises to investors, financially exploited relationships, all of this returns multiplied. The narcissist, accustomed to solving problems through social manipulation, finds themselves completely lost, facing concrete material consequences. They can't convince a bank not to foreclose on a debt with charm. They can't manipulate the financial market with crocodile tears. And when they try to seek help, they discover they burned many bridges. The people who could help them financially are the same ones they exploited or mistreated in the past. The network of relationships that should be a support becomes an insurmountable barrier. Often, it's at this moment that the narcissist's pride suffers the hardest blow. Those who always saw themselves as superior, smarter, more deserving, find themselves in a situation of material vulnerability they always despised in others. But it's not over yet. The sixth and final sign is the deepest of all, touching the very essence of what it means to be human. The sixth and final sign is the most profound and definitive. The narcissist is forced to face who they really are, without filters, without masks, without the ability to distort reality. It's as if the mirror they always avoided looking at directly was finally forcefully placed in front of them. Throughout their entire life, the narcissist built a fantasy version of themselves, a grandiose image that justified all their destructive behaviors. They saw themselves as misunderstood victims, unrecognized geniuses, superior people surrounded by the envious. But when divine justice operates, this illusion becomes unsustainable. Wayne Dyer taught that the greatest spiritual growth comes when we are forced to confront our own shadow. For most people, this process happens gradually, with opportunities for learning and growth. For the narcissist, who resisted any genuine self-knowledge for decades, this confrontation arrives like a devastating avalanche. Suddenly, alone and without an audience for their performances, they find themselves face to face with the inner emptiness they always tried to fill with external admiration. Without the constant validation of others, without the ability to project blame and responsibilities, they come face to face with the reality of who they became. It's a moment of absolute terror for someone who built their entire identity avoiding this confrontation. For the first time, they experience what their victims felt: genuine loneliness, rejection, real consequences of their actions. The empathy they never developed voluntarily is forced upon them through direct experience. Some enter deep depression at this stage. Others develop severe anxiety. Many experience for the first time in adult life what it's like to feel truly small and vulnerable. The grandiosity that always protected them from reality simply disappears. And here is the most crucial point. This moment can be both an opportunity for redemption and the beginning of total destruction. Some narcissists, confronted with this brutal reality, finally find the humility necessary to seek genuine change. Others sink even deeper into bitterness and resentment. The difference lies in the willingness to accept real responsibility, not the performative responsibility they sometimes demonstrated to manipulate forgiveness, but the genuine responsibility that comes from deep recognition of the damage caused. It's at this moment that many narcissists finally understand why they lost everything they considered important. It wasn't persecution. It wasn't envy. It wasn't bad luck. It was the natural operation of universal laws of cause and effect. But how do you protect yourself during this entire process? How do you maintain your peace while observing this justice unfold? To truly understand these 6 signs, we need to understand how divine justice operates differently from human justice. While we seek immediate results and obvious punishments, the universe works with mathematical precision that takes into account factors our limited mind cannot process. Wayne Dyer always emphasized that we live in an intelligent universe where nothing happens by chance. When we observe a narcissist going through these 6 stages, we're not seeing divine revenge, but rather the natural restoration of balance. It's like nature healing from an infection. The timing of this justice is perfect, even when it seems slow to us. Each experience the narcissist needs to have to awaken happens at the exact moment their soul is prepared to receive it. If it came earlier, it would be wasted. If it came later, it might be too late. It's important to understand that you don't need to and shouldn't try to accelerate this process. When we try to force consequences or help divine justice, we actually interfere with something much greater than our understanding. Our function is to protect ourselves, establish boundaries, and trust the process. Many people feel guilty when they see a narcissist suffering these consequences, especially if they still harbor feelings for that person. Should I help? Maybe now they're ready to change. What if I'm being cruel by staying away? But understand, your compassion cannot interfere with the lesson the universe is trying to teach. When you save a narcissist from the natural consequences of their actions, you prevent their spiritual growth and perpetuate the destructive cycle. It's like giving drugs to someone who is going through detox. It seems like kindness, but it's actually disguised cruelty. True compassion sometimes seems harsh. It's allowing people to face the consequences of their choices, even when it's painful to watch. It's maintaining your boundaries even when they beg for one more chance. It's choosing your well-being above their need to avoid responsibility. Remember, you are not responsible for saving anyone. You are not responsible for accelerating justice. You are not responsible for delaying it. Your only responsibility is to take care of your own energy, protect your inner peace, and trust that the universe knows exactly what it's doing. When you understand this deeply, you can observe the entire process with a serenity that previously seemed impossible. You don't root for the narcissist's destruction, but you also don't sacrifice yourself trying to prevent it. While observing these signs manifesting in the narcissist's life, your absolute priority should be protecting your own energy and well-being. This process can be intense and emotionally challenging, especially if you still have emotional ties with that person. First, maintain physical and emotional distance. When a narcissist is going through this collapse, they frequently intensify manipulation attempts. They may fake extreme repentance, create dramatic crises to get attention, or even threaten self-harm. Remember, this is not genuine change, it's strategic desperation. Wayne Dyer taught that our energy is our most sacred responsibility. When you allow a narcissist's crisis to drain your energy, you're diverting precious resources that could be used for your own growth and healing. It's like using water destined for your garden to water ground that will never produce fruit. Establish clear boundaries and don't negotiate. If you have children in common, keep communication strictly focused on the children's needs. If you work together, be professional but not personal. If you're family members, you can be polite without being emotionally available. Beware of the guilt that may arise. Many people feel responsible for the narcissist's suffering, especially when they see them apparently vulnerable. This is the result of years of conditioning where you were trained to prioritize their emotional needs above your own. Remember, you didn't cause their situation. You can't control it. You can't cure it. You can only control your own reactions and choices. This is one of the most liberating lessons you can learn. Use this time to strengthen your own spiritual foundation. Meditate, pray, practice gratitude, connect with people who genuinely support you. When your inner light is strong, you are not affected by external darkness, no matter how intense it may be. Seek professional support if necessary. Therapists specialized in narcissistic abuse can help you process complex emotions and develop healthy coping strategies. There's no shame in seeking help, there's wisdom, and mainly, practice patience with yourself. Healing from a relationship with a narcissist is a process, not an event. Some days you'll feel strong and independent. Other days, longing or guilt may return. This is normal and part of the journey. The important thing is to keep walking toward your own light, allowing divine justice to do its work. When you truly understand these 6 signs and how divine justice operates, something wonderful happens. You free yourself from the need for revenge, from corrosive anger, and from the feeling of powerlessness you may have carried for years. You find a peace that doesn't depend on anyone's suffering. This understanding fundamentally changes how you see your own journey. You realize that every difficult moment you lived with the narcissist was, in fact, an opportunity to strengthen your soul, develop discernment, and learn about your own limits. Nothing was wasted. Wayne Dyer taught us that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. When you stop seeing the narcissist as someone who got away with it, and start seeing them as someone who is inevitably walking toward their own consequences, your anger transforms into distant compassion. You no longer need to spend mental energy creating justice scenarios or fantasizing about the moment when they will pay. You know that life is already taking care of that with a precision that surpasses any plan you could create. This freedom allows you to focus completely on building an extraordinary life. All energy that previously went to resentment can now be directed toward growth, healthy relationships, and personal achievements. It's as if you had recovered a vital part of yourself that you didn't even know was lost. And here is the most beautiful irony. While the narcissist is facing the consequences of a life built on falsehood and exploitation, you are creating an authentic life based on real values. While they reap storms, you sow spring. Some of you who are watching have already begun to perceive these signs in the lives of narcissists you know. Others are at the beginning of this awakening process. Wherever you are in this journey, remember, you are not alone. You are not crazy, and yes, there is justice in this universe. If this message touched your heart, leave in the comments, "I choose my peace above their chaos." Share this video with someone who needs to hear this truth. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive more content that will strengthen your journey of healing and self-knowledge. Remember, the best revenge against a narcissist is a full and happy life. Go live yours.